He's shown to have that it factor. What is the it factor? What is that thing that separates, some of our top quarterbacks in the league from the rest of the guys?
Saints linebacker Demario Davis talked about Tyler Shough's it factor. That's something Scott Shanle tweeted about yesterday. I know talked about on the Saints postgame show, which you see on their Twitter and their social media. Scott's good enough to join us here for a couple of minutes. Hey, man, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Okay. You heard Demario's comments. It was a big, long cut, by the way, for those who didn't hear the entirety of it. But I'll just get your take and maybe let you elaborate a bit on what you saw from Shuck and then also Demario's comments about it.
Yeah, I think for me, I was a little apprehensive going all the way back to the draft. Like, this is a guy, 26 years old, played on 3 different teams, never really produced a whole lot in college, was injury prone. And then in the preseason, it was kind of, it was a blah preseason. But I think the team handled him correctly. Let Spencer start, let him get used to the speed of the game, to the routine every week, to the meetings. And I saw in the Tampa Bay game a few weeks ago when they threw him in, I saw some throws, and I thought, okay, those are NFL throws. The ball jumps out of his arm, out of his hand, and then they go to Carolina, beat Carolina, and he played really well in that game, threw the ball vertically. And I said in our postgame show, he was walking around the field different. Like, big body language. I'm a big body language guy, and he was walking around the field that day in Carolina like, man, I can play at this level. And when a young guy starts to do that, that's where you start to think, okay, maybe there's something here. You saw that again in Tampa Bay yesterday. Not so much in the pass game. The weather didn't permit that as much, but just running the football, doing what, Kellen needed him to do. And then, obviously I do the pregame, postgame for the Saints. Postgame comments come up. We're sitting there listening to players talk. They asked Demario this question about Shuck. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to hear this because this is a guy on the inside. He's played a lot of football. He was with Drew. He's been around. And when a guy like that says he's got the it factor, I mean, that carries a lot of weight. That's not like, if he didn't believe that, he's not going to say that. So it kind of confirmed what I was thinking based on what I was seeing in the body language of Shuck.
Scott, for someone who didn't see the game, and you're going to look at the box score with Shuck, and you go 13 of 20 for 144, no touchdowns and a pick, like, that doesn't look like the stat line that's going to make you go, we got our guy. But you watch the game, you're like, damn, got our guy. So what did you see that extends beyond, like tangibly, that extends beyond the stats, plays or moments that you thought were illustrative of what you're describing?
Yeah, I think just, if you around the game, you're around players, you watch guys and their moxie and their intangibles and not the box score. You just get a feeling. And like I said, I kind of had that feeling a few weeks ago. But I think yesterday, not so much yesterday. The one thing that impressed me, if you want people to impress by Tyler Shough and stats, he's a rookie quarterback who's completing 68% of his passes. That's phenomenal. I mean, if you want to win football in the NFL and the ball's only hitting the ground 3 times out of 10 passes, you're going to win a lot of games. We got used to seeing that with number 9. He was up there, 68, 69, 70% completion percentage. That will win you games. That tells me as a young guy, he isn't panicking. He's doing a good job in the pocket, which is improvement from what I saw in his college tape. He's going from first read, second read, third read. He's making the right decisions, and the game's slowing down to him. And that's why I think you start to see people believing that this guy can be a franchise quarterback. As
a defender, when you look at the Saints offense right now, who else are you noticing that you think has some upside?
Well, I think Devin, Neal's done a good job taking advantage of his opportunities. Now, I don't think Devin's a number 1 back, but I think he certainly is a change of pace back. I believe for the last 2 years, the Saints' biggest need was running back. I think it's not a knock against Alvin, but he's going to be in year 10 next year. I think you take a guy like A-Chan from the Dolphins and put him on the Saints offense, I think it dramatically changes the offense. So if they can get a twitchy running back, I think it helps them. So I like what Neal's doing as a young guy, but I think Vele the last couple weeks, you trade a 4th-round pick for a wide receiver, he better produce. And I think after getting rid of Shaheed, he's getting some targets. What he reminds me of, and it reminds me of Colston. He's a big-body guy running those deep digs, deep in routes, catching the ball in traffic. Because the Saints, we've missed that. Chris Olave is not so much that receiver, but Vele being that big-body presence who's willing to catch the ball in traffic into the noise, I think has changed this offense the last couple games.
Scott Shanle's with us, former Saint linebacker. Catch him pre- and post-game on the Saints pre- and post-game show. It streams on their Twitter, by the way, too, so you can check it out there. Follow the Saints on Twitter. You can get Scott at Scott Shanle. Scott, flip it over because, look, as much as we're going to talk about Tyler Shough, and I get it, man, I watched the Saints defense struggle so much, especially on the road early in the season. And to go to Tampa, and I get the weather being what it was, but to hold Tampa to 20 points, to stop them 5 times on 4th down was impressive. Where do you see the most improvement week 1 to now defensively?
Well, I think a lot of times people don't give enough credit to how hard it is to change from scheme to scheme. And I know Demario's been in the league a long time. Pete Warner's played a lot of football. Cam's played a lot of football. A lot of these guys, they're veteran players. Alante. But there's a huge learning curve. So learning how a new defense coordinator, how he calls things, how he wants you to play things, there's a huge difference between Dennis Allen's defense and what Staley's doing. So I think it took half a year for these guys to learn how to play in this primarily zone defensive scheme. And once they settled in and understand what their role is in this defense and they're playing together, I think that's where you've seen, and Staley understands how to utilize certain players. So I think they're playing good as a unit. And a couple weeks ago, they lost a game. And again, in the postgame press conference, Kool-Aid gets up there and he's talking about how they don't want to let each other down. They want to play hard for one another. Coach Staley always preaches about, do your job. And I'm like, these are all good signs. This is a team that's not won a lot of games, and yet they're still trying to do the right culture things for each other. And I agree with you 100%. Shuck's, the talk of the Saints because he's the franchise. Everyone wants to be the franchise quarterback. But I agree with you 100%. I think Staley and the defense is kind of the forgotten thing about how well they've been playing.
Scott, make this make sense for a football dummy like me. What is the biggest difference that you see? You talk about like the transition, right, from Allen to Staley. Like, what's the biggest difference that's tough for those guys to go through in this transition? Like, what do you see?
Yeah, and I parallel it a lot to I played for Greg Williams. We had the 1 year of Steve Spagnuolo, and he was not a fit for us. He obviously a great defense coordinator. He went and won Super Bowls. But for what we did with Greg, we were a huge man, pressure team. Steve comes in, and he's a huge zone guy, and he plays everything differently. We have to relearn that. And it was a horrible year in 2012. And I think early in the year, that was the problem with Staley. These guys are learning now how to play zone defense, play this odd man front with a 3-4 mainly. Just Granderson standing up, Chase is standing up, Cam's now standing up primarily. So just a lot of moving parts that took guys a while to settle down and learn how to do it.
When you and Scott Shanle's with us for a couple more minutes, there's always this conversation, Scott, that fans have in media about, like, do you want to win or do you want to lose and get the draft pick? Give me the player's perspective, if you would, on where you fall.
Well, I'll tell you, I understand the sentiment. Certainly, when you're getting the fan or media mode, it's all about you want that high pick.
Yeah.
But the reason, even as a fan and media member now, I'm like, I don't necessarily subscribe to that because I don't think there's not a Peyton Manning. There's not an Andrew Luck. There's not a guy who's going to change your franchise. If anything, if you get a top 5 pick for me, I'm beating Mickey's door down saying trade this damn thing down and collect a ton of picks because I don't think there's a player who changes your life. So for me, I would much rather see the franchise turn a corner, find their franchise quarterback, have some hope going into next year than to be the number 1 pick or number 2 pick. Because like I said, I don't think there's anybody that changes. As a player, you don't care about it. I mean, because the NFL, it's a day-to-day interview. If you're trying to interview every single day for your contract. And I've always said, if the NBA would give those guys contracts like the NFL players have, you would see an entirely different league because it's a year-to-year league, man. You got to interview every single day. So players don't really fall in line with the whole draft pick thing. I'm
with you, man. Go win games. Like, let's see Tyler Shough get better, improve, and build around your franchise. Where do you think, as you assess the roster now with 4 games to go, where do you think the biggest needs are going to be in draft and free agency?
It'll be interesting to see. Now, we've gotten used to the Saints being in cap hell every year, and that's alleviating. That's thawing out. I think next year the Saints have one of the most highest cap numbers in the league, so they're going to have money to spend in free agency. They're going to lock down some of these young guys. Obviously, Chris Olave, I don't know if he'll be back. Alante, they're going to have to make some decisions on some of these guys. But I think they need players on offense. They need playmakers. There's no guy that you get the ball in their hand, they make 2 guys miss, and they can go the distance. They need some twitchy guys, some running backs, another receiver. So they need speed on offense. And then defensively, obviously, Demario and Cam are playing great, but you got to start drafting guys to replace guys. And that's why I'm a big subscriber. If you're a top 5 pick, which you may end up with, trade down and get more picks. That's how you build your roster and get out of the hole quickly.
He's Scott Shanle, former Saint linebacker, catching pre- and post-game there with the Saints in-house broadcast. Hey, man, we always appreciate a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
It's our pleasure.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.